Thank you, Svenja. Yes, I do sort of feel like I am wearing a costume because I spent all day in my sweatpants studying for my license exam next week. So I just graduated on Saturday, finished, and thanks. Finished in pediatrics at the Alberta Children's Hospital. It was the perfect way to finish my education and connect with folks there, families there. So, Svenja, thank you for the warm welcome, for inviting me to be a part of this evening. Dr. Bernier, thanks for kicking things off. I think I'll shorten some of my introduction by your great introduction to the Canadian Rare Disease Network and the pillars that it stands for and what we're trying to accomplish as this community. For the folks online, thanks for joining us. As we mentioned off the top, we will take your questions as well at the end of every speaker session. I will have an eye on the online chat and share your questions as they fit and as we have time. And for those of you in the room, we'll be putting the pressure on you to ask your own question. But I will repeat that for those online so that they can hear the question and be as engaged in the room atmosphere as we will be here. So again, I'm your guide for the evening. We're going to lead through many speakers tonight, and we do have a powerful lineup ahead. So we're going to dive right in. I want to first introduce a key message that is going to be reinforced through the night, and that is the Canadian innovation in rare disease. It has never been more true than right now, and sorry to get political in some way or another right away, Dr. Bernier, but science on a broad scale is under attack. And it's kind of funny, people go, from a meteorologist, why'd you get into medicine? I'm pretty good at being under attack. Climate change has been under attack for as long as I've practiced as a meteorologist and climatologist. So hop right into medicine and see what kind of message we can bolster as a community of researchers and healthcare providers. But tonight we want to highlight CRDN's commitment to collaboration, equity, and progress here in Canada, where we can continue to be leaders and even grow in that space more and more for years to come on an international stage. We grow stronger when we recognize the importance of a community voice and patient-centered approaches. So with tonight, I think we have a chance to remain invigorated even beyond the 4 or 5 hours we'll spend together, but the conclusion of the evening and keeping that momentum going beyond today. So we're going to start with a parent's perspective on caring for a child with an ultra-rare disease. I want to have you all join me. I know we're very honored to invite Ashley Davis to the stage. She's the mother of Jake, the first Canadian diagnosed with the ultra-rare disease ERCC1 deficiency. And through her journey as a mom and caregiver, Ashley has become a passionate advocate for children and families affected by rare disease. Her story reminds us why innovation, collaboration, and compassion matter so much in rare disease care. So let's welcome Ashley to the stage.
Thank you so very much. Before I get into this, that I will do my best to stumble through over the next 10 minutes, I would just like to highlight my extreme gratitude for the CRDN. When my son was diagnosed 3 years ago, I was frantically searching for a network exactly like the CRDN, and I couldn't find exactly the support that I required. So I reached out to all the different institutions and communities that were featured on that outstanding umbrella there. And I had the time myself to reach out to those, but I know that a lot of parents don't. And I'm just so grateful for this community that has come together. Thank you so very much for having me. And thank you so very much specifically to our incredible geneticist, Dr. Eliza Phillips at the Alberta Children's Hospital, for trusting that I would be a confident recommendation for this role. My name is Ashley Davis, and I am the extraordinarily proud mother of Canada's first ERCC1 deficient boy named Jake. ERCC1 deficiency is an outstandingly rare genetic condition affecting a handful of individuals worldwide, with only 5 children surviving. There's 1 in the United States, 1 in Denmark, 2 in Australia, and our sweet little baby Jake here in Canada. ERCC1, oh, did I touch something? Oh, I touched something, sorry. ERCC1 deficiency, or excision repair cross complementation group 1, is a gene that produces protein. Protein essential to nucleotide excision repair, the body's pathway to repairing DNA. So how does ERCC1 affect Jake? Jake does not possess the abilities to repair the DNA related to his eyes, his ears, his lungs, his kidney, his liver, and certain structures of his brain. Jake is small, which I personally really like. He's about to turn 4, and he is the size of a 2-year-old. Jake experiences severe sensitivity to radiation, specifically UVA and UVB from the sun. Jake has a variety of sensory sensitivities, as well as some learning disabilities. So let's take it all back for a minute to talk about how we got here. In June of 2021, my husband, Matt, and I welcomed our first and only child, Jake. Our pregnancy was an absolute roller coaster. We hemorrhaged for the first time at 13 weeks. We had our second hemorrhage at 26, our third at 32, and our final at 36 and 5. For all you doctors out there, you can imagine how many times I got hit with RhoGAM. We were also an Rh-negative pregnancy. We were a complete placenta previa at 19 weeks that never resolved. And at 26 weeks, Jake was referred to as intrauterine growth restriction, or fetus failure to thrive. The day that Jake was born was dramatic, yet still his APGAR was very strong, 989. He passed all of his newborn screens, including metabolic, and 2 days later, we were happy, exhausted, and home. The newborn stage was what it was, chaotic. But by week 4, things were not improving, and both physically and developmentally, we could see deterioration. This is a moment for those patients, parents, caregivers in the crowd, and what I feel is a big one. I've been told by medical professionals in 3 different countries that this action may be one of the reasons why my son is still with us today. We have a book. We knew something was wrong with Jake. We needed to see a physician, possibly a pediatrician, but that would take time, just for an appointment. We also knew that we needed to have some newborn screening repeated. Again, a little bit of time. So with that time, we documented. We documented everything. Everything that went into Jake, everything that came out of Jake, his weight, the weight of everything in and out, activities that we could find measurables to, and if applicable, how those measurables reflect from 1 day or 1 week prior. For example, 1 week, he could hold his head up during tummy time, but the following week, with no other changes to his world, could no longer hold his head up. We presented this book to our family physician, who saw the need for a pediatrician immediately. Once the book, which now contained hourly documentation, was presented to our pediatrician, a metabolic screen was immediately repeated. Jake failed his second metabolic screen, which allowed us access to genetic testing straight away. We quickly exhausted Canada's technologies and went across border. A few weeks later, we even exhausted North America. Jake was now 4 months old with alarming clinical presentation, diminished cognitive activity, minimal growth, and no one knew why. Documentation continued. Should have brought a picture of the book or the book itself. I'm not suggesting that everyone start writing a book about your symptoms and measuring them. I'm just putting the emphasis on documenting measurables of symptoms over time because I've been told that it might cut out the amount of medical potential guesswork, ordering more definitive and tailored testing earlier on and potentially leading to more specific referrals in faster time. When Jake was 5 months of age, our family's biopsies were sent to Blueprint Labs in Finland to access whole exome sequencings. We waited. In February 2022, happy, I swear. In February of 2022, at 8 months of age, my husband and I received what we now call the greatest gift of our lives. We received our son's life-limiting diagnosis of ERCC1 deficiency. With only 5 cases surviving, I'm sure you can imagine the literature is limited. Nevertheless, a diagnosis within itself was a true gift and an honor to receive. It allowed us the opportunities for communities, for supports, as well as peace of mind and clarity of what may to be to come, as well as a lot of questions, like so many questions. We had the answer. So now what? Now what do we do? Where do we go? Where do we fit? Of course, Matt and I asked all of these of our now proudly global medical team. The answer repeatedly, with faces and heads held low, was nothing. There was nothing that could be done. There's very little research at that time. That has changed now. And no treatment. So let's talk about nothing for a moment. I am very confident that there is not a mother, father, grandparent, aunt, uncle of any kind in this room or out there who, if you were told there is nothing that can be done, that you could accept that. And neither did we. Not proud of this next one, but we bought a flat of Red Bull and we stayed up for 7 nights. We learned all we could learn about how the body repairs itself and how the lack of the gene ERCC1 to support the function of nucleotide excision repair in repairing DNA, how exactly that would impact our son. We learned a lot about sunshine, UVA, B, and C, radiation that comes from the sun, how it affects our body on a cellular level, how UVA and B cause inflammation, and how inflammation itself is damage. We learned a lot, and it seemed like we had the answer. We just literally had to get rid of the sun, and that was a little awkward. So instead, we boarded up our windows. We literally boarded up our windows and blacked them out. Within days, within 2 days, we saw changes in our sweet baby Jake. We saw these unexplainable red veins on his face that were almost varicose completely disappear. We saw him engage. He would begin to start reaching for a toy that he never would before. We saw a rash even under clothes that was called cradle cap, allergies, eczema just went away. So then we tinted the windows of our car, and instantly driving to the grocery store no longer came with unexplainable screaming. It was just a calm baby in the back. We knew we were onto something. About 4 months of blocking out the sunshine from our lives, we could truly see the impact of our actions in Jake's blood work. Inflammatory markers currently stable. His kidneys no longer calcified. His liver draining again. His cognitive responses increasing daily. Every sign of life was improving. Nothing was obviously wrong. So we took a step further. I don't recommend this, by the way. Oh, I keep touching things. Sorry. We installed a hospital-grade furnace and filtration system in our house, the most detailed air filtration system possible. I can proudly say that our little boy is the only ERCC1 deficient patient who has not had a respiratory illness. We've taken extreme steps to preserve our son's DNA, not because our medical team told us to, but because it was within our parental instincts to do, the most powerful tool we have, because it helps us sleep better at night knowing that we tried. Toddler life has been an absolute roller coaster that I'd never change. Explaining a condition seen for the first time in our country is a privilege, but finding social interactions where safe, that's a bit of a challenge. We have a lot of fun making dietary choices based on their biological effects. We also love choosing clothing fabrics based on their purities from an inflammation point of view. We adjust schedules to ensure that Jake has the benefit of nature, even though he has an allergy to the sun. As I mentioned earlier, Jake's diagnosis is the greatest gift we've received. 3 weeks ago, on April 3rd, Jake was diagnosed with cancer. But we knew cancer was coming because 3 years ago, the Alberta Children's Hospital did not stop. The incredible metabolics and genetics team did not rest until they found out why my baby wouldn't grow. Over the last 3 years, we've prepared for what was to come. We learned over the last 3 years that Jake is not a chemotherapy candidate. We learned he is not a radiation candidate. We learned certain surgeries need to be considered a little differently. And here we are, bravely heading into a full liver transplant because we received a diagnosis 3 years ago. Because the Alberta Children's Hospital, Dr. Rebecca Sparks, Dr. Chris Smith, and their remarkable teams never stopped looking for answers. I'll leave you with this. My husband and I are not remarkable. We're not special. We're just parents. We're just parents following the power of our instincts. Parenting rare is the only parenting we know. So we embrace it. We embrace the tears. We embrace the fear. We embrace the many, many financial falls. We embrace the gift of realizing who's got your back and who you're better off without with. Rare is rough, but you have to be tough to be rare. You were born tough, just like Jake was. Jake was born tough, and we were all born for this.
Ashley, thank you. I will be the first to disagree with your statement of not being special or remarkable, anything different. I'm still stuck with tears in my eyes up here. So thank you. Thank you for such a brave kickoff to our evening, sharing your story. And with that, let's get into some of our speakers. I can't read much of my notes.